I'm the mighty Thor. This is my hammer. Why do I sound like Arnold? Woodford Reserve has released the 2022 edition of its popular annual limited edition Woodford Reserve Batch Proof. For this year, it weighs in at 118.4 proof. This still utilizes Woodford Reserve's process of blending barrels into a batch and then bottling the whiskey at its finished blended proof. Last year, I thought batch proof was hiding young whiskey behind the heat-cycled warehouse aging that Woodford Reserve and Brown-Forman typically use, or at least I thought it tasted that way. I know a lot of people love that batch, but for me, it just wasn't cohesive. Does the 2022 get it right? Let's find out on the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum. Welcome back to the show. Barrels drawn from the first floors of our heat-cycled warehouses routinely possess lower proof presentations due to the more relaxed angel share process found there, said Master Distiller Chris Morris in a prepared statement. This batch had more of these barrels in its comparison and therefore a lower batch proof presentation than past releases. Take a closer look at Thor's hammer. So since Woodford releases pretty much everything at 90.4 proof, this offers consumers and whiskey geeks the opportunity of tasting Woodford Reserve at cask strength. Each year, Batch Proof is part of the annual Masters Collection series, which celebrates Master Distiller Chris Morris and Assistant Master Distiller Elizabeth McCall and their commitment to craftsmanship. This limited edition bourbon is available in select US and global markets with a suggested retail price of $130 for a 750 milliliter bottle. It's made of the typical mash bill that Woodford uses of 72 corn, 18 rye, and 10% malted barley, and bottled at 118.4 proof. Let's try it. My first pour of this that I had a couple days ago was promising, so let's see what we got now. I'll tell you what, the nose on this bourbon is pretty damn enticing. You just want to kind of dive in here. It's very fruit forward to me. I get dark cherry, I get blackberry, but I also get some really nice sweet oak. A lot of rich vanilla extract here too. And also some age, like you can actually, it smells, you know, like an older whiskey. Let's call this for what this is. This is not an old bourbon, guys. This isn't like, you know, a 10, 12-year-old bourbon. Woodford and Brown-Forman have a way of heat cycling their warehouses to give the impression of an older bourbon. And I think that's what I tasted last year in the 128.3. I mean, we are gonna compare it here quickly, but they utilize those heat cycled warehouses to give a little bit more of an accelerated maturation. And I think sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like, it seems to work amazingly well in King of Kentucky. I mean, that's a whole nother realm of a bourbon, but I'm just saying there are aspects of times where it does work very, very well. This, I feel like it's hit and miss with the Woodford Batch Proof. It may smell well aged, but it's a young bourbon. That's why you don't see an age statement, to be honest. At least that's my theory. But yeah, the nose on this I think is great. I think there's some citrus that's underlying there. The cherry, the blackberry, big huge waft of vanilla extract. There's also a little like tobacco leather thing going on, something that you would get in an older bourbon. So let's give it a go. I'll tell you, the spice makes this drink like it's higher than 118. There is a very rich underlying spice to this. Now, what this doesn't have that last year's did is a cohesive palate from front to back where you don't get any youthful, bitter notes hiding underneath that heat cycled warehouse, that rapid aging, that, hint of a rapid aging going on. This to me is a way more cohesive sip. This gets into more sweet oak. This gets into more like a hint of coffee. You guys know I love coffee flavors in my bourbon. If I could pick up some coffee in it, a little coffee bean, some chocolate on the back end of it. Again, that the fruit forwardness is there. I'm not getting it as much in the palate as I was getting it on the nose, to be honest. On the nose, it came through very, very fruit forward. Can't say I'm really getting it too much on the palate, but man, and then the spice, the rye spice is really coming through on this one. Go for another sip. All right, the dark cherry and the berry, yeah, it's starting to come now right here mid palate. This is nice. This is a more just rounded out, well blended, cohesive Woodford Reserve Batch Proof. This is what I would expect a Woodford Batch Proof to be. You know, I'm always skeptical with the Woodford Batch Proofs and the different releases each and every year, but this one for me is absolutely nailing it. I think it's great. I love the richness of it. I love the older oak notes, and I love the older, you know, bourbon feeling I'm getting from it. I really think heat cycling can really pull some great notes out of a barrel. I think for this one, it really pulls a lot of that vanillin out of the barrel and just gives it such a huge punch of vanilla extract. But you also get those really nice aged, woody, textural notes that you'd get in an older bourbon. All right, last one, then we're gonna compare it to last year's. Yeah, front of the palate, spice. Middle of the palate, a lot of vanilla, but it's like vanilla coated in cherry and blackberry. A little bit of chocolate on the very end. And then on the finish, you could just get like that nice punch of caramel, that rich caramel note, a little bit of that chocolate as well, and the spice just lingers on. Shit, I'm really liking this. This reminds me a little bit of Calumet 16. I'm gonna have to do a head-to-head a little bit, but Calumet 16, I think that's actually aged 16 years, has a bit of a similar thing going on. It's got the older age notes, it's got that spice that lingers through, it's got some dark fruit to it, a little bit. I don't know, I'll have to do that comparison, but let's compare it to last year's Woodford Reserve Batch Proof and see why I'm liking this one so much better. All right, so Woodford Batch Proof 128.3 from 2021. This was their batch proof. Did not give this a great review. Like I said, a lot of people did like it, but I think they liked the proof of it. I don't really think it was I don't know. I just don't think it was a well-crafted, well-blended bourbon at all. I just think there was a lot of youth hiding under heat-cycled warehousing, like I said. But let's try this one here. Yeah, I stand by my statement. I still think there's something about this one that just doesn't connect for me. The one thing I do get in the 128.3 that I do get in the in this year's version, the 118.4, is a huge punch of vanilla. Although I'm not getting like these really nice balanced oak, sweet oak notes and tobacco notes that I'm getting in the 118 in the 2022 release, I should say. Oh yeah. This is such a more balanced, sweet, fruit forward. It's just such a more complex bourbon to me than this one was. This was all proof to me. This is all proof. You get a nice big punch of flavor. You get a little bitterness on the back end and it's gone. This sticks around. You get the spice, you get the vanilla, you get the cherry, the little bit of chocolate, little maybe coffee bean. This is a much more developed and rounded out release from Woodford Reserve. This, so far, 2022, what is it, end of July here? This might crack my top 10 for this year. All right, let's final break down this one. All right, guys, let's final break down this Woodford Reserve Batch Proof for 2022. Price, $130, that's retail. Secondary market value, you tend to see these around the $200, $225 mark, right around there. I never really see it go above that. Next up is availability, and as we said in the beginning, let's say it together, limited. But I will say, being a Brown-Forman brand, Woodford Reserve, even for a limited edition, probably has most reach and most distribution than other limited editions. So if you live in a place that gets a lot of the, Woodford Reserve Masters collections or any of the releases that come out from Woodford, you might have a good shot of finding this one. All right, when it comes to value, this one's a little tricky, and that's only because Woodford Reserve always just puts out stuff at their 90.4 proof. That's like where they live. That's where everything comes out at. The only really things you get to try that are not 90.4 proof is sometimes their 375 distillery only releases, like their Bottle and Bond gets bottled higher. That one's at 100 proof. I actually think that's a really great bourbon. Then you have the batch proof, which comes in at batch proof. So, you know, for the rarity of it, because you don't get a lot of chances to taste Woodford Reserve at a cask strength, I think it's kind of worth it. But if you just kind of strip away that, and you kind of strip away the fact that it doesn't have an age statement on it, for this bottle alone for 2022, I'll say the value's even. The most I'd pay, the most I'm gonna pay for this is retail. Do I wanna overpay for it? No. Are you gonna have to, or are some of you gonna have to get this? Probably, maybe. But if I had the choice, I wouldn't wanna overpay for this, only because of the things that I said before. It's non-age stated. I think it's chill filtered. It doesn't say it's non-chill filtered. I mean, you are getting flavors that are older in this particular batch, but you know, I think the most I'd pay, just because of some of those details that are missing, retail. All right, is this a recommend? Absolutely. This year's, the 2022, 118.4. If you find this at retail, pick it up. Not only, even if you're not a fan of Woodford Reserve, I just think it's a great, well-balanced bourbon from front to back. It's got everything a bourbon should have. It's got dark fruit, it's got a lot of sweet oak, it's got the vanilla, very rich caramels, a little chocolate, little coffee bean on the back end of that one, nice long spicy finish. It's really got a great just balance of flavors. Great job by Woodford Reserve, by Chris Morris and Elizabeth McCall on this batch. This is fantastic. This is like right now for me, this is the benchmark now for all other Woodford batch proof releases. So if you find it at retail, grab it. All right, guys, well, hope you enjoyed this review for the new Woodford Reserve Batch Proof 118.4. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. Let me know if you've had this yet. What your just general opinion on Woodford Batch Proof is. I really think this is a great release this year. Again, they seem to be hit and miss, but this year, 2022, they absolutely nailed it. So see you next time on The Mash and Drum. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share with. Cheers, folks. I'm digging this.